Well, it's officially been 5 years since I started developing video games and creating pixel art. After a few years in any creative endeavor, you start to find your signature patterns that define you as a creative in whatever field you're in. Whether that's the way that you develop your art style, how you drive your stories forward, or the genre that you like to create your video games under, there will always be a few of these key features that defines you as a creative in your field. Well, after spending 2.5 years developing my game Monster Tribe, there's been a question that's haunted me since really the start of the project. The question is, what would Monster Tribe look like if I was never the developer of the game? Well, with the game pretty much being finished, I felt there was no better time to answer this question, and so I've collaborated with my buddy Goodgis, where for 24 hours we will be swapping projects and reimagining our games in our unique styles. To give this challenge some accountability, we jumped on a live stream to have fans of both games influence our decisions on what aspects of the game we would be recreating, from Goodgis's unique insect-based Metroidvania platformer and my top-down open-world RPG Monster Tribe. And that's pretty much all you need to know to understand the origin of today's challenge. We decided to split our challenge into two main segments. The first segment would be recreating 2 enemy monsters from the respective game that we are recreating, but the second challenge is not so easy. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with segment 1, redesigning our game's monsters. So with this first design, the major things that I wanted to pull from the DewDrop enemy Champa was take this concept of a T-Rex-like biting enemy and see how I could push the design, turning this into a monster from Monster Tribe. Some of the key elements here that I really wanted to portray was the body proportions, keeping the body smaller than the head, having this creature have a very large open mouth, a pink tail, and making sure that this creature doesn't have any kind of arms. With those things in mind, I created the concept for this monster, giving Champa a very scaly skin. As most of the monsters in my game are designed with the theme of danger in mind, these monsters are supposed to feel fierce, so I had to do something a little bit different with the designs in creating the DewDrop monsters. Now for Goodgis's monster, they decided to pick Polgon for his first monster, and so with this simplistic design, for both monsters, he had decided to take the original concept, being obviously a lot more detailed, and simplify it down into exactly what is needed to characterize this drawing in a 24 by 24 sized canvas. Okay, so for Sedump, I have something extremely different planned for this monster design. If we take a look at the original design, we can see that we have this wooden creature with a blue stump mask for its face, having its eyes hidden between the shadows of the mask, a chunky, chibi little body, and that right there, yeah, that's a little gun. So with these few elements in mind, I had to create a creature concept, but it didn't feel like it was enough to really elevate this creature into a Monster Tribe monster. I had to think a little bit outside of the box, and so what I did is I took this idea of this wooden, secretive type of enemy, and I influenced the design with elements of stealth, and again, making this creature feel a little bit more dangerous than the original concept. I made the mask feel more like a knight's helmet rather than just a stump, as I wanted to incorporate the wooden, tree-like design into the body more in my design. So yeah, my design is definitely a lot more slender, but I played into the mischievous aspect of this monster a little bit more in my design, only having 30 minutes to make this monster design from no concept at all to a finished drawing. I'm quite happy with the results of both of these monsters. So the last and final creature we had to redesign was Goodgis taking on the design of Albec. This one was definitely a little bit harder for him, as the design that he's basing this off of is completely in a side-facing view. But all in all, I think it ended up turning out very nicely. With all 4 monsters created, we are heading into the final challenge, which is actually creating an environment from both of our games, but in our own styles, and making these games feel like a combination of Monster Tribe and DewDrop Dynasty. This was definitely the hardest part of the challenge, so buckle up, we're in for a ride here. For my challenge, the audience ended up picking the jungle biome in DewDrop Dynasty for me to recreate in a Monster Tribe aesthetic. So again, only having about 30 minutes to actually complete this challenge, I had to focus on only a few elements of the environment to actually replicate in my drawing. The things I decided to focus on was the acid or green poison water you find at the bottom of the stage and the cracked bricks that you find throughout the area. Now, because I'm kind of combining the games of Monster Tribe and DewDrop Dynasty, I decided to take a lot of inspiration from the water ruins area in my game and shift it into this new concept. Well, as I started building out the scene, you can see that I'm placing the ruined blocks, and later I get to detailing the actual water using this almost neon green aesthetic to really push the colors and bring in some vibrance into our background. Now, the final things to do were just adding in some foliage, so I quickly created some trees, scattered them around the environment, threw in my monsters onto the canvas, and created a UI that resembles the game it's coming from. All in all, I think the end result was pretty good, but again, trying to create an entire environment concept in 30 minutes with no prior brainstorming involved, this was definitely by far the hardest part of the challenge. Now, for Goodgis' part of the environmental challenge, the audience had chosen the charred sanctums. The things I told him to focus on for this area is, of course, the maroon foliage that the area is covered in, the stone torches, and these Japanese-inspired shrines that are scattered throughout the sanctums. This is by far our darkest aesthetic we have for an environment, which I think actually worked in his favor as the monsters that he designed were a little bit more mature and dangerous looking. The finished result is honestly amazing. I have no idea how this guy did this in 30 minutes. He did a great job at capturing the aesthetic of DewDrop Dynasty, but it feeling like the charred sanctums that you find in Monster Tribe. But all in all, I think both environments and monsters were really well executed. Now, what I want you guys to do is to let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think of this challenge? Is this something you want to see me do with other developers? If so, make sure to drop a like on the video, as it really helps out the channel branch out to new viewers, allowing me to feel comfortable doing these kind of things more often. Additionally, if you were to have partaken in this challenge, let me know in the comments down below how you would have approached either of these designs and what would you have done differently. The visuals that I'm popping on screen now are actually fan art monsters and designs that our viewers had created while we were on the live stream. Overall, amazing work by everybody here, and it's great to see these unique monsters created in different art styles. I recently threw up a poll for you guys to vote on weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly videos, and you guys voted on bi-weekly being the best for combining quality with consistency. And because of this, I will see you next Friday.